Have you been repeating the same exact thing to Claude over and over and over again? You know there's some type of way to create an ultimate knowledge hub. You've been trying Notion and you've heard of this OpenClaw thing, and what about Dispatch, and there's all these things. I hear you. I mean, you're literally left crying at night because it feels like everyone has $1 million startup and all you need to do is, quick put together an app. But your thoughts are everywhere and it's just madness. But here's my theory. I think most people struggle with this exact same thing. And I wanted to see if I could answer the $1 million question. Does the all-in-one knowledge base truly exist? Something in which your AI knows who you are, your projects, your clients, how you work, without you re-explaining every single session. Every conversation compounds, meaning your AI gets better at working with you over time. So not scattered across Notion, Google Docs, Slack, your brain. It runs on autopilot when you're not there, triaging your inbox, reading texts, briefing you every morning. Decisions are remembered, so what you tried, what you rejected, and why. So you never go in circles on the same problem twice. And I'll be honest, the breaking point for me was probably the 100th time I opened Claude and started typing, my name's William, I'm 19, I feel like I've done that so many times. And I was like, this is madness. I, once and for all, need to actually build something that is long-term and it saves time, And I kept saying to myself, once I get done with this, then I'll finally get to it. But eventually I was like, enough. I put aside my tasks for the day and I said, I am going to figure this thing out. And I've truly never regretted it since. So wherever you're at right now in your journey with AI or just organization in general, just dive in head first, because there's never going to be the perfect this or the perfect that. It is truly something that you actually build up yourself. So what I'm gonna tell you in this video is just suggestions. It's just how I like to structure the way I run my businesses and processes, but it's gonna be completely different for you. And I think what a lot of people get confused is they look at the structure first. They're like, oh, it needs to be pretty. But it's like, what really needs to happen is you need to get your goals really clear in terms of what does a system look like that actually caters to your goals, and that should be your North Star. So there's no perfect IDE, MCP, no. There are so many great tools and apps and things out there, and it's all about figuring out what works best for you. I'm going to mention a few tools in this, and I don't want you to immediately search it up and go crazy. They're tools, okay? So a lot of these things you don't actually need to use. I think the fundamentals of this system is that you have one folder and that it is aggregating all of this information, and we will get to a lot of the more technical parts, but the basis is that it's one thing, and all of your information is constantly getting added to it and enriching to really help you move faster. Okay, the foundation. So before I even get to showing you my screen, I need to make something clear. Markdown files are elite for AI specifically. I see a lot of people trying to use web-based things for their knowledge hub, which it's not bad, but if you're constantly working on your laptop through Claude Code or Claude Cowork, it needing to do an external API call every single time it needs to query any information, that is extremely inefficient, and it really should just be pulling from your desktop. So that's why I'm a huge believer in just having local markdown files so that your AI can just cook so much faster. So let's dive into the structure. At its core, we have a folder, just one folder where everything is kept: data, projects, configurations, everything. This is the same folder that's on my Mac and my other agent Mac, my phone, and a web MCP server that I have set up. So I can read and write from it on the go through the Claude app, which is pretty nice. And the best part is that reads and writes propagate everywhere. And this is just a regular folder, all different types of files, Markdown, Python, PNGs, and even some videos. Nothing exotic, nothing proprietary. Okay, next off, I'm gonna show you guys Obsidian, which is the viewer, not the brain. So this is a really important piece that I like in the stack, and I really need to be clear about what Obsidian is. So this is actually what most people get it wrong. And basically when I usually show people Obsidian, they're like, wait, so I need to use it as an MCP or whatever? And I'm like, no, it's basically just a different way to view files in a more like pretty fashion if you want to, but it's not necessary if you're just working from, one device. I do like to use what's called Obsidian Sync, where I can sync my vault across my laptop and my phone. I think it's an additional $5 a month. But again, it's not necessary if you're just working from one laptop. And I think this speaks to a bigger misconception. People think AI is a black box that can just magically, aggregate information and read your thoughts. But in reality, it's not. It's a tool that needs data, and if you don't give it the data, then it's simply just going to make things up. So it's really important that you actually have this data, really accessible in whatever type of AI scenario. Whether you're running some AI automation with an API call, yes, it needs some type of like file to read and like understand what its purpose is. If it's an agent on your laptop, like there should be clear documentation telling it like, hey, you're on, Bobby's laptop right now. We've been working on this last week, like ... And I think that's when it's really an unlock, when you learn that like, oh, it's actually kind of human after all. Like it needs instructions, it needs clear goals, etc. So I think that has been a crazy realization in my process working with AI. Okay, so syncing. This is kind of a problem if you have multiple Macs. And like I was mentioning, Obsidian is really clutch for this. So we're going to be using Obsidian Sync, which allows the vault to stay identical across both Macs, my phone, and anywhere else I need it. So I make a change on one machine, it shows up on the other within seconds. This matters because one of my Macs is a daily driver and the other is a dedicated agent machine that runs scheduled tasks, and they need to be looking at the same data at all times. Okay, so next up is kind of an anti-organization system. So one thing I love about this system, and something you're probably not used to, is how I don't just have some insane categorization system where notes from this day and about this topic go in this specific folder. Yes, I have folders and structure for the big stuff, but day to day, I just create notes on their own page. I jot down random notes, ideas, brain dumps, whatever. And then when I run a consolidation skill, it takes the data and enriches it across the vault. This then hits one of the most important topics of the video, which is playing to AI's strengths. So if the AI is extremely versatile at making sense out of unstructured data, then why don't we use it for exactly that? I mean, why are we spending our time meticulously organizing when the AI can do that much better than us? And this would always hold me back from just like quick making notes, because it was either, the most messy thing in Apple Notes, or like, oh, I'm just not gonna do it at all because like it's not in the right folder and the right this on my Notion, whatever. Like my mind is just so much clearer now because I will literally go on Obsidian on the mobile app, and I'll just create a new page, I'll jot something down, and like, that's it. It's not like within this, for this day and at this time, and because it's a blue moon, I write it on this page. No, it's just like, I just put my thoughts down, and then I know that when I do a consolidation, like that will all be taken into context. And it's truly so amazing because people, I think, are so reluctant to like put a lot of data in their system. They're like, oh, this is like an irrelevant note I had about, my sister's baby shower, and oh, this is, not something important, it just was a little brief we needed. I'm telling you, like, all of those are data points that will help your system like be full circle so much more. And it's like something you don't really realize until it happens and you ask a question, and it's like, well, I can send a proposal, but like her baby shower was, at that time, and you probably don't want to, and it's like, whoa, I would have never thought about that before. So I know that was like a really weird example, but like that is kind of the vibe of what we're working with here, is like the more data, the better. So I would encourage you to shift your note-taking app, to something like Obsidian that can actually sync then to your vault. And again, I know there's sometimes data security concerns and things like that. So, I'd encourage you to tread carefully, but that has really worked for me. All right, so next is gonna be giving AI context. So now that we have our folder and our way to view it and sync it, the next problem we have to solve is how does Claude actually know what's in there? So how does it know who I am, what I'm working with, and how I want to behave? And the answer is in this file right here, which is Claude.md. This is the single most important file in this entire vault. Think of it as like the Constitution. So every time Claude starts a new session, whether it's Claude Code, Cowork, whatever, it reads the file first before it does anything else. So as you can see right at the top, who I am, what I'm building, 2 companies, Real Labs, which is an AI-powered video editing software, and Space Studios, which is a video production and ad agency. So Claude knows this before I even type a word. I never have to say, I'm 19, I'm William, and I can just put it down once. Claude always knows, which is great. And guys, here's the thing. I barely touch and write on these markdown files. Like, AI creates this for me. I'm just the guy in the chat, kind of orchestrating and saying, putting all this information in. If it gets something wrong, I, tell it to fix it. And you can create these files really quick. So you don't have to write these long markdown files. Okay, so this is my favorite part, the soul section. This is where I define how Claude should behave when it's working for me. So as you can see, be a competent colleague, not a chatbot. Have opinions. If something is a bad idea, say so directly. Be resourceful before asking. Try to solve it yourself first. Earn trust through competence, not politeness theater. Guys, I hate when AI puts on this show. I'm not sure if that's I guess it is kind of its default state, but I can tell night and day difference if I just start a Claude chat in a new directory versus my vault. Its behavior is night and day difference. Okay, and then down here is a full map of how the vault is organized. So this really helps Claude just move around quicker and find things faster, where to put files, etc. It knows client work goes in Space Studios, dev docs go in Real Labs, and its own operational files go in Agent. So it's not really guessing, it's not dumping files in random places, which is really nice. And here's where it gets really powerful. So this section tells Claude what tools it has access to. So Gmail, Google Calendar, iMessages, Notion, Canva, GitHub, plus which accounts to use, what 2 Mac setups look like, and how scheduled tasks work. So Claude reads this and knows its entire toolkit before the conversation even starts. All right, next up is the memory system. So how AI stops forgetting. Okay, so as we mentioned, Claude.md has context about me, but this is pretty static, right? So how is AI going to remember things on its own and autonomously make changes to things on its own, even if you didn't tell it specifically to do that? That's what the memory system does. So this is a memory index. Think of it as a table of contents for everything the agent has learned. Every entry links to its own file with the actual details. The agent reads this at the start of every session and pulls in whatever's relevant. And this actually might be my favorite part in the file. And it's the entire vault policy markdown. And these are the agent's self-learned behavioral rules. So every time I correct it, every time it figures out a better way to work, it updates this file itself. So let me show you some examples. When MCP tools exist for a task, call them directly instead of falling back to other approaches. Don't resuggest ideas that have already been rejected. Check the decisions log first. When William feels overwhelmed, facilitate triage, not more tasks. That stuff is really important to have, because I'm telling you, when you're working with AI all day, your brain can kind of get cluttered. You get in this weird state of mind, and it's kind of important for your AI to understand your patterns and maybe not jumping into some new build or new feature is what you need at the moment. Maybe it's to actually take a step back, check out okay, what's the bigger picture? What do we have to work on? And that is really important. And these aren't rules I wrote, the agent wrote them. So it learned them by working with me. And because they're in a file that gets read every session, it never makes the same mistake twice. And that's what I mean by conversations compounding. Okay, so I want to take a step back and tell you the moment that this whole framework actually clicked. So I asked the agent to give me some to-do items. Just a normal request, nothing special. And it brought up a person that I should follow up with from a really long time ago. Something I had completely forgot about, and it was right. It was actually a really good call, and I would have never thought of that on my own. And I was like, okay, this is different. This is not just a chatbot that gives me some notes to do. This is something that's actually seeing patterns in data that I would not be able to see myself. And honestly, that leads to maybe the most underrated part of this entire system. The AI can literally detect patterns over time. It can tell you, hey, you've tended to act like this, or you've been moving more in this direction lately, or maybe you usually respond late to this type of message. It's like having a data analyst, but on your own behavior. You know, there's no point in time we've ever been able to have something like that until now. You know, your own personal assistant that's able to like look into every single pattern and thing in your life. Look at it as like scary and creepy and dystopian, but I see it as like a massive opportunity to, you know, I guess get introspective and take a deep dive on like why you do a lot of the things you do. And nobody really has a system like this. When I talk to friends about their setups or even at AI events, like I was at a Claude Code event last night, and seriously, the concept of like keeping a lot of data on yourself is not super popular. Everyone kind of just relies on like half-assed memories, and they just, you know, think it's a black box and like it might remember something, it might not other things. It's like, guys, it's just doing its best to like keep some small memory file, but like that is nothing compared to like actually keeping a vault of a lot of information. And I don't think people understand too, like how much we forget. Like, yes, we're able to recall things that happened a while ago if someone brings it up to us, but like if you just ask someone, hey, what's everything you did when you were 8 years old? I mean, I don't even know if I can say, say 5 things of when I was 8. And luckily AI doesn't have information, since I've been 8 years old, which I guess is a good thing. But I think you get the point, which is like, AI is able to, really just take a deep dive when our human brains are not capable of doing that. And then you've got project memory, what's happening right now across both businesses. So current sprint status, recent decisions, who's doing what. The agent reads these so it can pick up exactly where we left off, even if it's been days since we talked about a specific project. All right, this is pretty sick. So this is iMessage integration. Now here's where people usually lose their minds. Every few hours, a launched cron job on my Mac queries my local iMessage database and dumps the recent conversations into this file right here. And then the agent reads this during triage. So when I wake up and run my morning brief, the agent already knows what my clients texted me overnight, what my business partners sent about the project, what scheduling things came through. I don't need to brief it. It already just reads the texts. Pretty sick. And it goes deeper. It's indexed over 500 contacts, analyzed tens of thousands of messages, and built profiles on the people I talk to most. So when a name comes up, it knows the context, who the person is, what we usually talk about, what our working relationship looks like. And I do have to preface that setting up the iMessage system was not super easy. So first you need to give your Claude Code like full system access. And then basically what it's tapping into is the SQLite database on your laptop that actually stores all of the text messages. And if you're not familiar with SQLite, it's a very universal, local, really lightweight database that companies like Apple use for almost everything. I mean, you might have heard of just regular SQL, or some people call it SQL, and that's usually hosted in the cloud and needs a server to run on. But yeah, basically we're getting access to that database locally and then just being able to pull, text messages and things like that. But there is no specific, connector that I found that just easily does that. It's something you just need to chat about your agent with. I'm sure I can put something in the description down below with more information about that if you're interested. Okay, scheduled automation. So the agent is able to run without me. So we've got the knowledge base, the memory system, the iMessage integration. The next question is, do I have to kick this off every single time? Do I have to open Claude every morning and say, hey, Claude, check my tasks? No, and that's what scheduled tasks are for. So this is the morning briefing prompt. It runs automatically at 9 a.m. every day. The agent reads Claude.md, reads memory, checks my email through Gmail MCP, checks my calendar, reads the iMessage dump, and writes me a structured briefing. By the time I sit down at my desk, it's already done, which is pretty sick. And this one runs every 4 hours, so 9 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m. It triages my inbox, flags anything urgent, and updates the vault with anything it found. So even when I'm heads down in code or a meeting, the system is just working in the background. And the key insight here is that these are not just dumb cron jobs. These have context, so the agent knows my priorities, my projects, my clients. So when it triages, it's not just listing unread emails. It's telling me exactly what matters and why. So say for example, I had been chatting with Claude, maybe earlier that week on a project that we're working on, and it has that information. Then, an email comes in from someone that's associated with that project. Well, it's going to take that context, reference it to this context, and be able to come up with, the light bulb of like, oh, this person, needs this thing, or okay, they gave you approval, and since they said this here, then like this is the solution. So it's just like, it's allowing us to work at that higher level. Instead of us having to check here, then check what we had here, and then put the conclusion together ourselves. We just had the AI do that for us, allowing us to save time. It's like one review rather than 3 reviews, which is amazing. So here's what the output looks like: structured, prioritized, actionable, not a wall of text, which I love, and not a summary of everything. It's just, here's what you need to know, and here's what needs your attention. I love that. And I hate when I get these like page-long responses from Claude, which doesn't happen if I'm in this vault, but like if I'm in a new instance, it's like I have to shut it up like every single time. I'm like summarize this down to like 2 sentences, because it's like you can see that as lazy of like, oh, you have this AI and it like gives you these long responses, like the least you could do is read it. But like, dude, there is like infinite content and things to read and stuff. Like, we gotta save time. What are we doing, Okay, but before we move on, I gotta talk about something important. People are way too obsessed with agents working while you're sleeping. Guys, if we can't even put together a task list and do things during the day, why are we focused on like agents doing stuff when we're sleeping? I mean, I have not even hit a point yet where I have like many, things going when I'm not, like, no. I think what people don't realize is like, these AI models are so smart and fast that like the only limiting factor is the amount of time that we're willing to like put in and be the human in the loop. Like, I don't think AI is good enough yet that we are able to just step away for a few days and it just like continues off working. I mean, if you set up semi-deterministic workflows with AI, that's a different case, meaning, if you went in N8N and had some flow where it's like, when a person emails you this, then send to Claude Node, then draft response, then send, that's a different story. But what I'm saying is I think people are really obsessed with the idea of like an AI like building a business as you're sleeping. Guys, that's not a thing. We're not there yet. I'm telling you, I am like on the ground using AI every single day. I'm talking to other people, and like it feels very overwhelming because you see on X and all these social media platforms like, everyone is just agents and this shit. No, we're not there yet, okay? So I will tell you when we're there, but we're not there. So honestly, don't stress. I would focus more on getting this, folder set up. I would not immediately jump to scheduled tasks. That stuff is not very important. Like it's kind of, it's something I use to get you to click on this video, but it's not going to revolutionize your life. But it's nice. It's a quality of life thing. Like, okay, yeah, I guess I didn't have to, check my email, or at least I didn't have to like use the connector. It just like pulled it in for me. That's really amazing. But yeah, I would say just try to get rid of the whole agent while you're sleeping idea, and maybe just be productive with the agent while you're awake, and I think you would have better results. Okay, real business application. How does this all fit in? Let me ground this in something real. I run a video production and digital marketing company called Space Studios. Real clients, real revenue, real operations. So this is a content strategy doc for one of our clients, full playbook, content themes, posting cadence, automation workflows, lead economies. This entire thing lives in the vault. Okay, this is a content strategy doc for one of our clients, full playbook, content themes, posting cadence, automation workflows, lead economies. This entire thing lives in the vault. So when I'm talking to Claude about the client, maybe I need to adjust the strategy, draft a proposal for a new service, or prep a call, it already knows everything. The strategy, the history, the numbers. I'm not uploading a Google Doc and saying, here, read this first. It's already part of the context. And this speaks to a bigger theme that I think I've been hitting on, which is there is so much BS and bureaucratic time that you spend, checking the Google Doc here, and then you go to this software and you check this here, and then you read this message, and then you read this email and you do this. Like, that stuff literally takes up 90% of your productive mental tokens. So my goal with all of this is like, how can I stay in the chatbot working at the highest level possible? So when I say high level, I mean like not the low level tasks of like going to this software, doing this. Like, it's not a skill. It's not like creativity going to random softwares and like wasting your time doing that. So if we can get that out of the loop and spend more time thinking, I mean, that is a win overall for any business that you're in. And this is the difference between using AI as a tool and then using AI as a team member. And I would like to say I'm in the team member camp and like to, I want to keep pushing this way. I want my AI to become a boss. I want him to be directing me. No, I'm just kidding. But the point is like, guys, let's keep pushing our AI further and further and further because it's a piano. You got to play it. You got to learn it. It keeps evolving. This is not just one system, okay? Okay, I want to tell you a pivot story, and it might help you understand a little bit more about like why a vault is so important. So not just for organizing notes, but for how it changes the way you think about building software. So Real Labs is an AI video powered editor that I've been building. I spent months on a native macOS app that I'd been building. And I mean, I'd probably gone through 10 plus iterations of it being a web-based app, it being Electron. If you're not familiar, it's like basically a local app, but it's just like Chromium, but in a local app. So I had done so many different iterations and things and this and that, and I wasn't addressing the elephant in the room, which was I love working from Claude. Like with Claude, that's what I like to do. That's what we all like to do now. Like, hey Claude, make me a slide deck on this, and oh okay, I'm not a big fan of this on the slide deck, or hey, what do we have going up? Like, that's what we're headed towards, okay? We are headed towards this higher level society where we are the orchestrators of agents. And so back to the original point of what the elephant in the room was, is that that's what we're going towards. So yes, the app is great, and I do think in the video sense, it is nice to slide around, and really see the visuals. But it's still is like, what do I want to do? And you know what that is? It's talk to my chatbot and say, hey, I'd like you to edit this video. Just do it. Do it my style. Do it my way. You should know that, right? And I was like, why don't I make a local MCP in which that is just a reality? So that's currently what I'm working on right now, and am really excited because guess what edited this video? It was Claude with this MCP. Took me maybe 15 minutes. I had a few iterations, and I'm just saying this in the future because I know it's that great. I haven't, edited it yet, of course. Versus, I don't know how long a YouTube video takes, maybe 10 hours or something. So ain't nobody got time for that. No. So the MCP is going to be amazing for that. If you're interested, I guess, what do people usually say on YouTube? Drop a comment, and I'll send it your way, I guess. I think that's the thing. But yeah, so long story short, it's amazing because you're able to build all this great stuff and really just make an environment in which you can do things from your chatbot and stop going on so many softwares. I feel your pain, okay? Does the all-in-one knowledge base truly exist? Did we crack the code with this knowledge base? I would say that's up to you if we did that or not. In my opinion, yes. Yes, we did. Is it perfect? No. Is it still kind of janky in some ways? Yes. Does anybody have a perfect all-knowing knowledge hub? No. That would be super intelligent, or AGI, yes. Nobody has that. But the point is that your, pardon my French, your, very scrapped together Notion system is maybe 10% of where you could be like today if you just put in some time to build a knowledge hub like this, okay? So what I encourage you to do is you hop on your laptop and you follow along with this video, and you get all your information in there. So then you stop spending your time saying the same thing. Hey, I'm William, I'm 19, I'm just like, come on guys. We gotta start working harder, faster, stronger, etc. But the best part is that any additional information I add to this vault makes the entire system better, okay? That is, if you have one takeaway from this video, it's that the data is compounding, because it's not just, oh, I added it to, my to-do, and now my to-do list has a little more info on me. That is if we were using a solely deterministic approach. This is different because this is using AI, and then the AI looks at that and says, oh, you need to, stop at the UPS store. Well, you also said that you were wanting to get this, and we saw this email about the UPS verification, therefore you were picking up this to get that, which means ... So you can see how in every use case, it's like the more information you have, the better it works out, okay? So make a promise to me. No more, once I just do this, then I'll do, no, stop. Just do it today. It's going to change your life, okay? I'm gonna keep building and I'm gonna keep documenting this process. I would love if you kept following along for the journey. That'd be amazing. Like, subscribe, do all that, guys. And I think that's about it. So if you have any questions, seriously, throw that in the comments. I'd be happy to respond. And I'm not sure if I'm going to release this exact vault structure that I'm using, because I do want to encourage people using their noggin and kind of putting this together themselves. But if that's something that you guys do want, I will release it, okay? Without further ado, it has been amazing time with you guys breaking down the vault structure with you. I hope your life has changed after, and have a blessed rest of your day. Thanks.